Wondering what to get the pet lover in your life this holiday season? Well, join me in this episode and we'll dive into some of the most fun, unique, and thoughtful gift ideas that are sure to not only surprise and delight, but keep them out of the return line the next day. Whether you're shopping for a devoted dog parent, a cat fanatic, or a friend who just loves all kinds of critters, we've got the inspiration to make their holiday extra special this year. So tune in and get ready to check off every pet lover on your list. You're listening to Starlight Pet Talk, a podcast for pet parents who want the best pet care advice from cat experts, dog trainers, veterinarians, and other top pet professionals who will help you live your very best life with your pets. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Starlight Pet Talk. I'm your host, Amy Castro, and we're here to talk about gifts for pet lovers. But before we get into some specifics, I like to lay down some ground rules because some of y'all out there, I can't believe I just said y'all, are terrible gift givers. You may not even know it. They may just be regifting your stuff behind your back, but we're going to try to give you some guidelines first, and then we'll get into some specific examples of things that you could consider giving your pet-loving friends, family members, or significant others for the holidays. So, tip number 1. Make sure you consider the pet itself. What are their needs? What are their personalities? Now, for example, I am not the thinnest person in the world, nor am I as active as I need to be, and neither are my pets. Not necessarily because they're out of shape, but because of their breed and size. For example, my very favorite dog, Guinevere, aka Gunny, aka Gummy Bear, also known as the worst puppy in America, is a squatty bulldog. You do not need to be giving her anything that would involve running because, number 1, it's bad for her bad ACL, and number 2, she's going to get overheated, and more than likely she'll chase whatever it is that I'm throwing for her once, and that'll be the end of it, and then I'm going to have to waddle over there and get it. So probably not the best gift for us. Now, if you've got somebody that has an energetic pet, especially if they maybe something that involves some type of interactivity and keeps them busy and engaged when the pet parent isn't home, or if you've got somebody that's got a big active dog, even something as simple as a chuck-it is an awesome gift for really getting that ball tossed across the yard good and far and wearing out a very active dog. If somebody's got a senior pet, maybe something like a cozy bed or a pet blanket would be suitable. So, like I said, keep in mind who we're talking about. Who are we shopping for here? And make good choices, people. Tip number 2, in addition to matching the gift to the pet, make sure that you are matching the gift to the pet parent's lifestyle. For example, if I happen to be gone all day because I work, an awesome gift would be some type of camera where I could watch what my pets are doing. But if I'm working from home, I probably don't need that, and maybe something like a nice grooming kit or a craft kit that involves something related to my pet because I'm here, I'm home, or maybe I've got a little more time on my hands than some other friends or family members. So think about who you're giving the gift to and how they're going to be able to use it and whether they're going to bother to use it. Number 3, we've talked a lot in the show about enhancing the human-animal bond and enhancing connections between pet parents and their pets. So look for gifts that encourage interactivity between the pet and pet parents. Sometimes we're really, really busy in our lives and we don't make time for our pets. So things like puzzle toys or games that you can play with your pet, interactive things that involved human activity, those can be good ideas for things for people to really take the time to take a time out with their pets. If you've got a friend who is super social, maybe training classes would be fun for them to take their pet to, as long as you don't basically drop it as a bad hint like your animal's rotten so it needs to go to training classes. But training classes could be something, or a membership to a members only dog park like Zoomies that's coming up here in Houston. You could buy one of those in advance and they would be all ready for them to go. Tip number 4, make sure if you're going to buy something quality. I used to have a relative that they were all about quantity, not quality. They would buy every piece of garbage on sale just so that their stack of gifts that they got you was better than other people's stack of gifts. But a lot of it was just junk. So I'd rather have one small thing that is of good quality than a bunch more things that are of poor quality. In addition, think about safety. I saw an article the other day that talked about the giant rawhide bones that are coming out We see them every holiday. They look like candy canes or they look like peppermint sticks. And rawhide can be super, super unsafe for pets. So I would much rather you get me a rawhide alternative, something that's digestible, even if it's small, than a 4-foot long piece of dog choking rawhide that's going to end me up in the ER vet on Christmas morning. So keep that in mind along the way. Quality and safety. Also, we've talked about plastics on this show recently, so make sure that if the item that you're buying for somebody's pet is plastic-like, find out what kind of plastic it is. Is it BPA-free? Make sure that it's safe. Make sure that it's non-toxic. Make sure that it is as indestructible as it could possibly be so they don't have a choking hazard on their hand, just for example. Tip number 5, something that's super, super fun, especially for younger people in your life, and I've mentioned this on the show before too, I just throw down whatever dog bowl's there. If it's clean, that's what I'm going to use. My daughter, Kelsey, on the other hand, has all kinds of personalized stuff for her pet, Gigi. She's got her name on her bowls. She's got her name on her collar, on her clothes, etc., etc. So personalization could be something that's super fun. It would make a regular bowl stand out and be a little bit more special. It could be a personalized name tag that you purchase. And I think a lot of people do appreciate gifts where you've put in that little extra time to personalize the item. As a matter of fact, my podcast editor, Cassidy, has a business called Curiosities by Cass, and she makes all kinds of really cool jewelry, but she also makes pet tags, and they are awesome gifts. You can check that out. I'll put the website on our show notes. Tip number 6, find the balance between practical and fun, or practical and frivolous. I'm a practical person. I appreciate practical gifts. I appreciate a gift that basically you give it to me and it's like, wow, I really needed that and you just saved me $20. I don't have to go buy that for myself. So some people really like gifts that are practical and make life a little bit easier or are very functional. You know, maybe it's a new set of bowls if you notice that a friend's pet bowls are getting a little bit worn out. Maybe an automatic feeder for a friend that's gone long hours of the day. I was just thinking about that the other day, although I am home very irregularly, so I don't know how much I personally would use it, but for somebody who has a regular work schedule to be able to set an automatic feeder to go off maybe 15 or 20 minutes before they get home, and then they can immediately come home, put their tennis shoes on, take their dog outside for a walk. That might be an awesome, awesome gift. If you've got a friend that travels a lot, maybe it's a new, upgraded, or safer carrier. But that basically takes into consideration that the person that you're buying a gift for really likes practical stuff. So if they don't, then yeah, maybe look towards the whimsical or things that are less practical. You got to know who it is that you're buying. Tip number 7 is to consider a gift that gives back in more ways than one. So it could be a donation to a rescue group or an organization that your recipient believes in or supports. Or it could be making a purchase from an organization that gives back part of their proceeds to animal welfare. If you're not sure what organizations they support, you could even just create a little voucher that says, I will make a donation to the cause of your choice in Fluffy's name for $50 and put that in a box and give it to your friend. And then once they get the gift, they can tell you where they want the donation made and you can make it at that time. So you're not making the choice on your own. Tip number 8 is to be very careful about specialized gifts that are just too narrow or too niche unless you really, really know that that person needs it, wants it, or that their pet can use it. So, for example, there might be things like treats or supplements or special training tools that you're going to expend a lot of money on and then find out that that's not something that they can even use. So you have to basically know their preferences. So stick to things, if you're not sure, that give some flexibility or at minimum something that you can return if you have to. And last but not least, tip number 9, when in doubt, just ask. You don't have to ask overtly, but you could ask for hints. You could ask for them to create a list and you're going to pick one item from that list. So don't be afraid to ask for those hints because you want to make sure that the gift is something that they're going to open and be thrilled with and not disappointed. So now let's talk about some specifics. And I'm not necessarily endorsing any of these particular ideas. This is simply to provide you with food for thought, although some of them I think are really good ones. So One thing you might consider is customized pet portraits. You see various places online, or there might be a local artist or photographer that can create something that is very, very specific to that person's beloved pets, and having a unique portrait or some type of illustration for their pets can be a really nice sentimental and keepsake that they will cherish forever. We've even had situations in our rescue where we have had local artists, even high school students who were exceptional artists, that have done pet portraits as fundraisers for us. So you might even investigate that and see if that's an option. And boy, those portraits really came out good. So something to consider. I'm sure that if you price those things out, they can range from relatively inexpensive to super high end, depending upon what your budget is. So it gives you quite a bit of variety in there. Another idea that you might consider would be a subscription box. And again, you've got to know the subscription company, what types of products, are they quality products that they put into their boxes, but things like a monthly bark box or a meow box, or if you really want to get creative, maybe you come up with your own subscription that you send them a little monthly something for their pets or for themselves. That could be done as well. So the gift that keeps on giving for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, whatever it might be. One of the things that came up on my search for gift ideas, and it was reiterated by several people that I talked to about what would they like to get, is a pet tracking collar. I think I'm in the process of making a lot of changes here at the rescue ranch. We've got Tinky, who is wearing her bad girl stick, otherwise known as a collar with a wooden spoon attached to it so she can't get through the fence. But I am very seriously considering investing in tracking collars like the Fi collars to be able to keep track of my critters should they happen to get away. So I think anybody who is in a situation where their dog is outside, off leash, in a backyard, especially if they have an escape artist, some type of a gift like that would be a great idea. The only thing I would say is definitely do your homework. Make sure that you get a product that works and that they don't already have it, because no point in getting a gift if the person already has it. Now, one of the ideas that somebody suggested to me were personalized pet items. So for your friends that wear socks a lot or in colder climates, a cool pair of socks with their pet's face on them, or just the breed. Maybe it's Doberman socks or Golden Retriever socks or whatever, Beagle socks, whatever it might be something that is fun for them. A t-shirt or even jewelry that features their favorite pets or that are pet themed. Now, I will tell you, you get me any kind of cat earrings, paw print earrings, I'm all over that, big earring person. So you really can't necessarily go wrong with that unless it's already been done, and overdone. So if you know that person has a lot of stuff like that already, then if you're going to do that again, make sure it's either ultra unique or maybe look for another idea. I mentioned earlier interactive pet toys. I think things like a treat dispenser, like a Furbo, puzzle toys that keep the dogs engaged and entertained and are fun to watch them, quite honestly. Try to figure out how to get that treat out of the puzzle. Laser projectors, things like that keep pets mentally stimulated, but also give the pet parent an opportunity to play and interact with the pet is a great idea. Bedding is also a good option. But I would definitely look at what your pet friends already have. Consider the size of their space. There's no point in investing in a giant platform bed or a bed that's shaped like a sofa or something that attaches to their bed when it's not going to fit in their space. The other thing to consider if you're going to get pet bedding is think about how easy that item is to wash, especially if they have a senior pet, a puppy, something like that, because we at the Rescue Ranch have basically tossed out many really big, really nice dog beds because they got peed on one too many time and they were just near to impossible to get into the washing machine and get clean. So keep into consideration the person's space, how easy is the item to clean, the pet size. You don't need a giant bed for a tiny dog or vice versa. And then even preferences. Some dogs like a firmer bed, some dogs like a bed with a bolster, some dogs like those little donut beds like we had on our list of favorite products last year, and they want to be able to sink down in it. So make sure you're picking something that is actually going to get used and not ignored. If you have a friend that travels a lot, consider a pet carrier or travel accessories. Now, personally, I think the pet carrier is kind of a bad idea. Unless you really, really know what kind of traveling they're doing, how exactly big their pet is, because you don't want to get a wrong size pet carrier. In that instance, maybe you'd be better off getting them a gift certificate or a gift card to a high quality pet shop or a particular vendor that carries really high quality travel carriers, and let them select their own and do their own measurements and all of that. But it's definitely something to consider if you've got a friend that travels a lot. The other thing you might consider too is either creating or getting some type of travel kit. Go back and listen to one of our episodes on traveling with pets. We gave all kinds of ideas, an entire list of things that should be in a person's go bag, for lack of a better term, and put that together for them. And then maybe get the bag personalized. That would be super cute. I mentioned before Cassidy and her business Curiosities by Cass, custom pet tags or collars. Her products are all handmade, hand painted, and they can be customized. There also are a lot of other metal pet tags that you can get created and put the person's contact information and the pet's name. I would definitely do some homework first as to what their preferences are, like what's already on their pet's tag. For us, we don't put our pet's name on there because we don't necessarily want people to know their name to be able to call them over and snatch them along the way. So we just have contact information. There are a lot of tags out there that have funny sayings on the front, and then you would just put the telephone number or the contact information on the back of the tag. But look for things that are going to be sturdy, that aren't going to come off of the pet's collar, and are not going to wear off with other tags that the animal might be wearing, like their rabies tag or registration tag, license tag. I already mentioned doing a donation to a charity in the pet's name, so we've already got that. That's a gift that keeps on giving. It gives to the person, it gives to other pets, helps a nonprofit organization, so we talked about that already. So we just did an episode on the importance of grooming for all kinds of pets, not just poodles, doodles, and long-haired pets. So perhaps if you've got a friend, especially if they happen to have a stinky pet, stinky dog, one that looks a little unkempt, again, we're not doing this to drop hints, but maybe they haven't had time. Maybe they haven't had the budget to go to a groomer and really get a good job done. So a gift certificate to a groomer that they can use as they see fit, or even something as simple as an offer to transport the pet to the groomer if you know that they regular go. Maybe you give them a couple of certificates for you to drive the pet or pick the pet up or whatever it might be. You could also put together a grooming kit for somebody, especially if they've got a new pet. So it could be as elaborate or as simple as, one or two grooming items to a whole grooming box with all kinds of specialized tools, depending upon your budget and depending on the person's needs. So I think a grooming kit is definitely something that can be helpful and useful and appreciated. All right, we're coming down to our last couple of gift ideas here, and one of the ones that came up several times in asking people was a DNA kit for their pet. Now, I know there is a lot of controversy out there over the accuracy of DNA kits, and I'll be perfectly honest. I think there's just a lot of flex when it comes to DNA results anyway, because I'll just give you my personal example. I had my DNA done, and originally it said I was hugely Scottish, and then a mildly Irish, and then a couple other things after that. Well, in the last couple of years, that has completely changed around. The Scottish has gone way, way down to like 12%, and Irish is more than 50%. Does that mean that they were wrong in the beginning? No. What it means is the sample size that they have to compare it to in their databases has grown as the popularity of human DNA has grown. So that's the same thing when it comes to animals as well, is that the database size has a lot to do with the results that you get. That said, it's fun, it's interesting, and many of the kits come not only with information about breeds, but also health risks and traits that your pet might be facing based on their DNA. So it's at least worth something to consider. And again, I would definitely get to know the person as to whether that would be something that they would enjoy and find helpful, or if it was somebody who was a little more anxious, maybe it would make them more nervous than it's worth knowing all of those details. So keep that into consideration. And last but not least, if you've got a friend or a family member who perhaps has recently lost a pet, and going into the holidays, that can be a really tough time to be out without your pet, especially if you've had somebody in your life for a long time. But we did a whole episode on pet memorials and keepsake items, and that might be something that you would consider, whether it is something that you send away for, whether it's something that they can use to put pets' ashes in some form or fashion. It could be a voucher to get their pet's ashes turned into an object that they can keep, or it could be something as simple as something that you make on your own. I saw a really cute thing online one time where a person just basically it was a flower pot with a potted plant in it, and it had the pet's collar with the tags on there. Now, you may not have access to that, but you could give the flower pot and the plant and have it ready and explain to them what it's for. So those are just some ideas that I think might cater to a variety of situations and personalities. Hopefully that's given you some food for thought as to what you might be able to get for those pet lovers in your life this year. And don't forget about your friend Amy, because I'm always open to receiving gifts, as long as they're good ones. Okay, I shouldn't have said it like that. I'm always open to receiving gifts, and I promise I won't return them or re-gift them. And be sure to leave a comment on this episode sharing any ideas you'd add to the ones I shared today. We'd love to hear them. So, thank you for listening to another episode of Starlight Pet Talk, and we will see you next week, and happy shopping. Thanks for listening to Starlight Pet Talk. Be sure to visit our website at starlightpettalk.com for more resources, and be sure to follow this podcast on your favorite podcast app so you'll never miss a show. And hey, if you like this show, text someone right now and say, I've got a podcast recommendation. You need to check this show out, and tell them to listen and let you know what they think. Don't forget to tune in next week and every week for a brand new episode of Starlight Pet Talk. And if you don't do anything else this week, give your pets a big hug from us.